Can you wait to hold your baby until after it's cleaned off? Yes. A simple "could you clean the baby off before I hold it" will do. Yes, you can make it known that these are your wishes, but if you're actually asking them to fully bathe the baby, it's going to be a significant amount of time before you get to hold them. If you're just talking about wiping them off, that will be quicker, but it won't get rid of all of the vernix. However, if you think vernix is this horrifying, I shudder for you when you are changing poop explosions that have gone all the way up the back of their pajama, or being projectile vomited on, or wiping snotty noses. Vernix isn't all that gross. Amniotic fluid is what got me, and the meconium baby's first poop. But yes, you can ask the nurses to clean baby off and first. I just want to note the importance of the golden hour, so that when the time comes you can make an informed decision. Skin to skin for the first hour of a baby's life is so meaningful and can be very beneficial. Baby co-regulates heart rate, body temperature, breathing, etc. If you have the ability and choice to nurse, this is the perfect time to start that bond beneficial hormones from both sides. I could go on, but to your question, you're in charge of your birth. People will give you information and you get to make choices with that information. You have a right to informed consent. You have a right to making choices that lead to you feeling safe, secure, and regulated. I'm autistic and have a strong sensory aversion to touching anything gooey, slimy, or sticky also. I'm also currently pregnant with my second child, so let me say first that absolutely you can request the baby be checked and cleaned before you touch them if you want. But I'll also say that pregnancy, and birth in particular, is messy and a lot of your norms go out the window, so I wouldn't worry about this until it's actually a reality for you. All that said, my daughter was placed directly on my chest, and I know it sounds weird, but she wasn't sticky or slimy. There was nothing gross seeming about her, even though she was clearly wet, etc. It was such a relief that the birth and pushing was done, that and so amazing to meet her that it was furthest from my mind to be grossed out. My aversion didn't go away, it just wasn't triggered in that moment, or at least was overpowered by many other heightened emotions and sensations in that moment. But you may be different, so want to say again that of course you can let your needs be known to the nursing staff. Best thing would be to make sure your partner is very clear on what you do and don't want, so they can advocate for you too. You can if you really want to. I've always thought you gross, but then when it was time to hold baby, none of that mattered. I was just happy he was okay. I understand being on the spectrum makes things a little different though, so do whatever you want as it's all up to you. They normally do, but the stuff on the kid is natural and good for them. After my babies were born, the nurses asked me if I wanted them wiped down before I held them. I said yes. Done. Simple. I agonized over this for most of my adult life before having kids. It always looked so gross in movies. I've had 3 kids, and I have told each and every nurse doctor not to hand me my slimy baby. I think with the second I literally said nah. You need to wash it first. Note, I adore my children beyond belief. I just don't want to hold any baby fresh out of the womb, thank you very much. Yes, of course you can ask them to clean the baby first. You for sure can ask for that. But just so you know, in my experience as someone who isn't ASD, but is neurodivergent with significant sensory issues, the baby isn't actually very slippery at all. Like it feels so different than what you expect. Drier somehow. But also, I was so flush with fresh hormones and a well-functioning epidural that I didn't really think about the texture at the time. None of my usual sensory stuff bothered me in that moment. Now, 2 weeks later when my hormones crashed, every single part of me felt like a raw nerve. Make sure you have supports in place for the postpartum period as well. Yes, I don't like icky stuff, so I asked, and they cleaned no problem. In my experience, they always wrap the baby in a blanket and wipe their face before handing them over, and that's without me saying anything. I'm sure they would do a little extra wiping if you ask them. Maybe it depends on hospital policy, but I think they cut the cord, put on ID bracelet, suction nose, take weight, check reflexes, wrap in blanket, and put on a cap before handing the baby over. Maybe a diaper too. I think all of my babies got a thorough rub down somewhere in that process too, because I didn't remember any goo at all. I feel like handing over a naked slippery baby is too risky just because they could be dropped. Nurses and doctors are accustomed to having a firm grip and certain hand placement, but new moms are not, and they know that. The coating of vernix is actually one of the first ways they can build their immune system. My babies didn't have their first bath until a day later. I didn't mind. Vernix is a good thing. The WHO recommends leaving it on the newborn at least 6 hours after birth, ideally 24 hours after birth. I didn't get to hold my baby until several hours after he was born for medical reasons. After I said hi to him, I asked the nurse to wash his hair. He had a lot and it was so gross. I am not okay with vomit or boogers or drool, but somehow I can handle it when it comes out of my kid. I don't want to care for someone else puking or wiping their butt, but my own yuck and my son's yuck are tolerable. Babies, snot, goo, slime, poo, vomit, wee. A person shouldn't project their issues with the above onto the kid. In other words, you're going to have to get comfortable with wiping the slimy green contents of an explosive diaper pretty quick. And a sick baby? Everything, everywhere, all at once. It's the nature of the beast, so to say. You cannot keep a baby clinically clean, and you really shouldn't try to. You should be able to communicate this to your care team when you give birth. In my experience, delivery hospitals give tours once a month or so for expectant parents, so that would be a good time to ask them about their standard practice and what to do if you want something different. Babysound children are sensory nightmares for someone with sensory issues. Sounds, textures, smells, motions. They are unpredictable. It's a lot. They will be sticky, dirty, slimy, etc. at times, despite your best effort. My son projectile vomited into my open mouth once without warning. Motherhood is rough. Of course, it doesn't mean that someone with sensory challenges can't handle it. It just should be noted that it is very intense. This entire thread reinforced my child-free status. They wipe it before you even know what's going on, but the results vary. However, 1. Do you think you're going to care after the ordeal? That your body will even notice sensory issues after the pain and everything of birth? And 2. Yeah, kids are gross and slimy. You're going to have to figure out a way to deal with it anyways. Do you know how much time I took to clean the sweaty lint and hair from clenched baby fists? And dried crap from chin and neck rolls? It's never ending.